Howdy ho, BCTVites. It's 5:45 p.m., which means it's time for BCTV's weekly Media Roundup 545 Live. I'm Roland Boyden.
And I'm Kia Bailey. Coming up, striking Fairpoint workers left out in the cold since October will finally head back to work. More NRC drama as last week's controversy gets a reprisal last night at NDCAP's meeting. And BCTV gears up for another 7 town meeting heavy Tuesday next week with plenty of municipal controversies emerging across the county. All that and more in just 15 minutes, so stick with us.
Moderation is a lot like medicine.
In addition to being election day, March 5th was, of course, town meeting day.
It is not an exact science.
With news like Guilford's decision to disband their middle school.
Because this is such a touchy issue, I'm gonna give facts.
And Putney's move to adopt a full-time law enforcement officer.
The first 3 years were paid for on a federal grant. The current year, the Putney paid the match amount.
Joining visits from Governor Shumlin and all sorts of other Windham County legislators in the headlines.
Are we smart, considering Vermont Yankee, in taking a state that's cheap to litigate, that has to repay legal expenses, and that has already made the decision on this question?
Welcome back to this February 27th, 2015 edition of 545 Live. That's footage from last year's town meeting in Windham County as BCTV packed up 7 cameras to head to each of the surrounding towns we serve: Vernon, Guilford, Dummerston, Putney, Newfane, Townsend, and Jamaica, to record each of their town meetings. The practice will reprise next week as local politics heat up in each of those towns.
That will be this coming Tuesday, March 3rd, and voters all around the county will gather to discuss and decide upon a variety of issues. Dummerston has a change in tax collection date, different budgets, and a $12,000 painting project to discuss. In Guilford, voters will debate about the Green River Covered Bridge, the town's fiscal year 15-16 budget, the idea of a natural play space, and potential additional select board members. Jamaica hopes to elect town and school officials, approve the operating budget, and decide on the $1 million+ the school district hopes to use to defray expenses. Newfane seeks to make decisions about the quarterly tax payments as well as the town budget. Putney's agenda is filled with discussions on Landmark College's tax exemption status, highway equipment payments and loans, the town budget, and an election of 3 new trustees for the library. Townsend aims to approve the general and highway funds, decide upon a change in the number of town listers, and figure out the fate of a plot of unclaimed land. Vernon's meeting will be filled with discussions of the elimination of the town auditor position and of 2 select board seats, and of course the town budget. More complete summaries of the town meetings, warnings, and agendas can be found in the Town and Village section of this week's Commons or online at townmeeting2015.commonsnews.org.
And speaking of the Commons and commonsnews.org, a quick shout out before we move on in the stories to WTSA's Tim Johnson, their news director, who got some front page Commons News press this week as this edition of the Commons details Tim's Person of the Year honor bestowed by the Brattleboro Area Chamber of Commerce. He was recognized by Board President Jim Landrigan for his work in the community and his 4 decades of service to the profession. Tim Johnson was recently inducted into the Vermont Broadcasters Hall of Fame. With his 40-year career still going strong, doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. Congrats to Tim for that award. All right, time to move on here. And for that, we're going to head back into the newsroom, where concerns regarding the fate of literal tons of radioactive waste left on site at Entergy Nuclear's now dormant Vermont Yankee power plant in Vernon continue, as last night the state-commissioned 19-member group known as NDCAP, or the Nuclear Decommissioning Citizen Advisory Panel, met to discuss, among other things, reactions to last week's heated NRC public forum, as well as view more material from top Entergy execs as they continue to reveal small pieces of the company's plan.
We had heard your comments earlier about getting kind of a forecast schedule for some of the upcoming activities. We've started on that effort, and if you looked at our schedules right now, they're very, very detailed. We're going to try to get that to something that is much more important to the panel, understanding things like submittals, approvals, and upcoming decommissioning activity.
For anyone that missed the news of this past Thursday's final public info meeting on Vermont Yankee from the Nuclear Regulatory Commission, It was a doozy, lasting nearly 4 hours packed to the brim with contentious debate as NRC officials and Entergy execs fielded questions from a disgruntled public, with the announcement late last year that the Louisiana-based owners of the plant would be planning to halt the bulk of the decommissioning work required at the plant for up to 60 years, leaving many wondering what the future of the company could be that far in the future. And while NRC officials did their best to assure area residents that the federal oversight agency would be guiding the process every step of the way, many concerns were simply left altogether unaddressed.
Just because the plant is now shut down and is not operational, it does not mean that the NRC is no longer involved. The NRC will still be providing safety oversight through licensing and through inspections. And I do want to assure you that we at the NRC do take our safety responsibilities seriously. We really do. We do care, as somebody was saying.
Now, the 60-year wait time as outlined in the NRC-approved process known as SAFSTOR, increasingly referred to as SafeStore, despite its apparent lack of connection to any safety-based measures, has little basis in science, argued one-time nuclear industry expert and scientist turned nuclear-free advocate Arnie Gunderson, as he took his time at the public mic to challenge that Entergy's SafeStore adoption is anything but a financial tactic, pointing out how untested the company's financial models are for how much the plant's decommissioning fund could grow in the stock market's hands.
When I do those numbers, I show we can start decommissioning in 2026 and be done in 2032 if the IFSIS fund, that's the Independent Spent Fuel Storage, is not included. You're allowing Entergy to raid the cookie jar by taking money out of the IFSIS fund and not returning it when they get it back from the Department of Energy. Something's wrong with your model.
Find both that 4-hour NRC public info meeting from the 19th and last night's latest installment of the Vermont NDCAP series. You can stream it all at your leisure in its entirety, or skim ahead, because there's a substantial amount of viewing to be done there, especially with that 4-hour NRC meeting. It's all at brattleboro.tv.org.
All right, we'll move on with some galactic news here. NASA's Mars rover Curiosity is finishing up a 5-month mission in the Pahrump Hills, and on Tuesday took a sample of powder from an outcropping called Telegraph Peak on Mount Sharp. In the next few days, Curiosity will be moving to a different part of Mount Sharp to continue investigating. The decision to look into Telegraph Peak was based on chemistry measurements previously made in that location using an alpha particle X-ray spectrometer, which showed higher levels of silicon in proportion to the amount of aluminum and magnesium. The hope is that with these new samples, NASA will be able to infer and learn more about changes in Mars's environment in the past, as well as ancient habitable environments.
Thanks to BCTV News correspondent James Banslaben, who's been working on our Mars rover coverage, getting us some of that footage straight off of the NASA website, as well as photographs. Now we're going to move on in the stories here with another one that he unearthed for us. So this one comes back down to earth and into the state of Vermont here, and back to the newsroom we go. As a cold and salt-heavy winter on the Vermont roads has law enforcement officers around the state finding themselves facing additional challenges when it comes to identifying properly registered cars, prompting the DMV to post a statewide press release urging residents to check that their license plates, and perhaps as important, that their registration stickers comply with the law, which stipulates that, quote, registration validation stickers should be affixed to the rear registration plate of the vehicle. Vermont law requires vehicle registration plates with a dimension of approximately 12 inches by 6 inches to have their affiliated validation stickers affixed to the lower right corner. Now, registration plates with dimensions of approximately 7 by 4 inches must have their affiliated validation stickers in the upper right corner. Now, operators of vehicles displaying a validation sticker in any other location are in violation of the law. Now, for more, Brat PD has posted a copy of that full press release, including all sections of relevant Vermont law when it comes to license plates and registration, on their website, brattleboropolice.org.
And to close out our section at the main news desk tonight, we'll head north to Dummerston, as this week Walker Farm was named Retailer of the Year by Greenworks, the Vermont Nursery and Landscape Association. Walker Farm has been based in Dummerston for 245 years and continues to be a local favorite. This past winter, owners Jack and Karen Mannix acquired Elysian Hills Tree Farm, adding another element to their already busy lives. They continue to adapt, grow, and change, as keeping things operating smoothly is always a work in progress.
All right, with that, it's time to head into our BCTV video calendar, the section of 545 Live, where we look ahead at upcoming events. It's all sponsored by the Brattleboro Savings and Loan, and we'll start by looking at an event with Esler Oreste of Guilford, Vermont, as he presents Esler the Laugh Guru, a comedic performance combining many different forms of performing arts this weekend at the Hooker Dunham Theater. Each performance is unique, catered to the audience and their reactions, and every show is promised to be entertaining and full of fun.
Well, there has to be somebody that knows who Esler is. You know who Esler is? Do you know who Esler is?
No, man.
Esler? Yes.
So any bells?
Ring any bells?
My comedy's become really interesting because you have to get creative with kids. You have to get their attention in a heartbeat, you know? What I'm here to do is just to promote the show that I'm having 27th and 28th at 7 p.m. at Hooker Dunham.
Hey, do you know Esler? Do you know anything about Esler?
Moving on with our calendar coverage, catch the ACB Dance Company as they perform this Saturday night at 7 p.m., bringing to the Putney School Curia Center their, quote, classically based modern dance, exploring the universal human condition through expansive and emotionally driven movement grounded in the American modern dance. The performance is free and open to the public, again, 7 p.m. at the Curia Center at 418 Houghton Brook Road on the Putney School campus in Putney, Vermont.
And before we say adieu to this Friday edition of 545 Live, we'll check in with this weekend's weather courtesy of BUHS TV, the high school's morning news advisory broadcast crew. What's in store this weekend, guys?
Saturday is going to be a high of 29, low of -1, warmer than today. Still sunny though. Tomorrow, or not tomorrow, Sunday, it's going to be partly cloudy, which seems like a downer, but look at this weather. 34 of a high, 27 as a low. 27 is basically the high of Friday and Saturday combined. It's ridiculous, I think. Spring might just be coming. Who knows? I'm personally a little bit disappointed, but I'm sure everyone else is very excited.
Well, that does it for another edition of 545 Live. Thanks for checking in with us, and we'll see you right here next week on BCTV Comcast Channel 8. In the meantime, thanks for watching.
From BCTV 545 News, it's Jump of the Cow at Harris Hill.